This past month and a half, I have had the amazing opportunity to work on an exhibition. Aside from organising, curating, creating posters for it, and even making an animation to advertise it, I also got to create my own piece for the exhibition. This is what you will be seeing me create in the background here, while I indulge into the question, why do we exhibit art? Before I get into it though, a little bit about the exhibition and the artwork. Together Against Climate Change. That's the title of the exhibition of the project, and the theme for which I curated and created art. But it's not only the name for a temporary exhibition, but rather a lasting conviction. That's what I wanted to bring across in the work. I wanted it to be specific to the exhibition, even including the building of the exhibition in the piece. But I also wanted it to be a standalone artwork that would speak for itself long after the exhibition is over. I started off by sawing off a board of MDF to the size I needed it to be and painted it white. I used a little bit of card sand in the paint mixture and also a large, very rigid and hard brush to paint the board, rather like pushed around the paint than spreading it evenly, and both of those elements together created this really nice texturized feel to the board that I was looking for. I then copied my loose sketch that I created in my sketchbook onto the board, and rather than using a technique like I've used before, like a doodle grid or transferring paper, I drew the sketch by hand because I really wanted it to feel natural, organic, dynamic. And then I just started painting. Well, as you can see, I'm not actually really painting. Rather than using acrylic paint like I often do in these type of projects, I wanted to use pastels instead, try something new. The reason for that is really because I have found that I often fall into the same rigid routine when I use acrylic paint, especially for colouring in things, meaning that I use a base hue for an area of the painting, and then I add a little bit of black to the color mixture to create a shadow and a little bit of white to create the highlights. And while that works very well for certain projects, I wanted this one again to feel more organic, not so rigid. I wanted to create more of an atmosphere with the colors rather than making it look like I just filled in specific colors. So yeah, as you can see, I'm using pastels, also sometimes with a wet brush to create more of a runny feel, and only later on will you see me using acrylics for the plants only to make them pop a little bit, to give them a bit more saturation in the green than the desaturated look of the other elements in the piece. But now, why do we exhibit art? It's not really a question I have ever really asked myself beforehand as somebody going into exhibitions looking at art, but it's something that I found myself wondering about when I was the one creating the exhibition myself. I wondered why people came in to look at it, and sure, a little bit of that might be imposter syndrome. Why are people looking at my artwork, or why are people interested in this exhibition that I curated? But also beyond that, I wondered why I as an artist, why we as artists feel the need to create these exhibitions to show our work to other people. Aside from the maybe more obvious and more superficial reasons like receiving praise, getting exposure, maybe getting a commission out of it or selling your piece, I think the answer that I landed on, or rather my answer to the question, is meaning. Earlier I mentioned the meaning of my piece coming together against climate change, specifically for this project, but also as an attitude beyond it. That was my intended meaning, my thought process while creating the artwork. But what happens when you exhibit it, when you put it out there for others to see, is that it becomes something more, something else. The moment you allow others to look at your artwork is the moment you allow its meaning, and with it the artwork itself, to change. I want to back that with examples. My friend and colleague Uli who gave me this opportunity and who I worked on the exhibition with started it off by slightly interpreting not something else but something extra into the artwork by saying that the way the people are arranged in the composition makes it feel as the viewer that you are part of this queue, that you are, along with the others, going towards this building. Even though I was the one creating it that way, I had not thought about it that way. That wasn't my intention. A lovely woman who came and said that she felt like the people were heading inside into safety, to feel intimate and cocooned. Because being outside, having a lot of empty space might seem like freedom, but can actually be something very scary. Again, something I hadn't even considered at all while creating the piece. And you might now argue that this interpretation is wrong because this is not what I was thinking when I was creating the piece, but I disagree because it's true to her. And these reinterpretations went beyond my own artwork as well. Throughout the exhibition, I could watch people giving new meanings to other artworks, of which I knew that it wasn't their intended meaning. That being said, what I saw in them is probably already different from what the artist sees in them, so who am I to judge? So, yeah, why do we exhibit art? Of course there's many reasons and none at all, but the one I want to highlight is meaning and how meaning changes. Because when we create a piece of art, it's a simple thing, but the moment we allow others to see it, we allow it to become something bigger, a transforming thing, no longer just ours, but everyone's. And because I've been rambling on for far too long, I'm now going to show you the exhibition, and with that allow it to transform once more. To be no longer just ours, but yours too.